Hello there my fellow sim racers, welcome to Sim Rig Racing and my look at the SimJack Sequential Shifter for the PC. Now up until quite recently I have been using the SimJack Shifter, the Newt version, for both my H pattern and sequential needs, but I've found that the as good as the H pattern mode is, the sequential mode has always been its weak spot. It's not bad by any means, but on the Newt, I believe this has been fixed on later models, is there's quite a bit of wobble on the shaft and you don't necessarily get that satisfying clunk as you go into gear, but it works. So I finally decided to opt for a dedicated sequential shifter to go with all my tin tops that I just love to race. Now when I started looking into it, there really is a large range both in price, size, shape, quality and brands, and it wasn't as easy as I first thought. I wanted to go compromise between what felt immersive with a good old-fashioned clunk to it, but I needed to make sure that it wasn't excessively noisy because I share the sim racing den with my wife and she's not so passionate about sim racing as me. So I've been looking for a good few weeks and I came across this for sale from a fellow sim racer, which is the SimJack Sequential Shifter, and it looked absolutely ideal. Yeah, a small footprint, and more importantly, when I checked on the old interwebs and had a look at some of the videos on the old YouTubes, it seemed to get favourable reviews, and it seemed to hit that compromise between tactile feeling shift but without the massive clunk and bang that goes with some of the more elaborate sequential shifters. So I decided to take a punt. It was, I got this one for £90, but I believe even, brand new boxed, I don't think they're much more than that. What initially attracted me to it was the design. I think this is a great looking shifter. It's all metal construction, big thick plates. Yeah, you've got a bit of carbon fibre there, a little bit of decorative touch on the top, but it looks functional. It looks like, it's designed for a purpose, and I like that. In a race car, it's not aesthetics, it's form and function, and that's what this reminds me of. It's dead simple to rig up. You've got a single USB straight into Windows and it'll be recognised as a game controller, and you just select it in your favourite sim for your shifting options. And if you want to make this easier or harder to pull, then let's have a look. Right at the front here, you've got two nuts and bolts there. They are just a plunger with a ball bearing on the end which presses up against the mechanism inside. So you can make the shift as hard or as soft as you like. This is how it came to me, so it looks like it's fairly in the middle, and if I can pull it against myself here, it's got a good hefty clunk to it, so it really does feel solid, and it feels like it's going to take a good old pull or a good old push to make sure you get a positive gear change. You've also got no flex, no wobble in the shaft. It's solid construction through and through. I'll try and get it up near the mic so you can listen, see what you think about the noise. For me, it doesn't sound much noisier than my SimJack Shifter, which had that 3D printed box that the internals were in did create a little bit of an echo chamber, so it was noisier than what you would first imagine. But first impressions are that this is a great looking, well made unit which has a good compromise between tactile feel and noise levels. So I can't wait to get this on the rig. Now, before we do, a quick talk about the mounting. As you can see, it only mounts from the bottom. There are no way to mount this any other way, and there's no access down, you've got to come up. So if I get a little bit of spare profile I've got knocking about, so you've got your profile there, you put your thing on, there's no way to mount it directly to a bit of profile, so it's not a major problem for me. I kind of guessed that I might go down this route one day, so when I bought my SimLab GT1 EVO rig, I also purchased one of their universal shifter plates. As you can see, there is a selection of holes on there to mount everything and anything. So you just come up from behind, so you mount the shifter to the plate, and then your aluminium profile goes in the bottom so you can select where you're going to go. So first impressions out the box, I'm really pleased with it. And coming up next, it's going to be fitted to the rig. I'm going to be sat in the rig and we're going to find out what it feels like, how it performs in some of my favourite sim racing titles. So I'll see you in the rig. So here we are, we're in the rig. I've got the SimJack Sequential Shifter all mounted to my SimLab GT1 EVO rig. First thing I did notice when I was putting the shifter on the shifter plate was, even with all those holes and all those different locations, I could either get 2 rear, 2 front or 2 side. I opted for 2 side, and by the time you've tightened up the 6mm bolts, it sits perfectly tight and flush on the plate, and once it's all bolted together there's no rattle, no movement, so I'm quite happy that those 2 bolts are going to hold it in place. The more keen-eyed amongst you will notice that the shifter knob has changed. As soon as I got it on the rig and settled in, I realised that I didn't like the plastic thin feel of the standard knob. Fortunately, SimJack have made it easy for you because it's the threaded shaft, so you just take the original one off, thread the new one on, nip it up, easy, 30 seconds. This is an all-metal sequential shifter I got off eBay months ago for about £8, and it just steps it up a notch for me. It just feels a bit more immersive. You've got a proper chunky gear knob to get hold of, and it sort of more matches the more robust mechanical nature of the actual shifter unit itself. Right, we are in Asetek Forte. We're in the VRC Peugeot 406 Super Tourer, one of the reasons why I wanted to get a proper shifter. So let's get out on track and see what it feels like and sounds like. As for setting it up, you just plug the USB in. No drivers, no software, no calibration. You just go into your settings, find the gear selector binding, and just change the up and down to match this SimJack shifter. So 2 seconds and it's all set up and ready to roll. First thing you notice when you're out on track and start using it is the lack of wobble and movement in the shaft. When you grab hold of it to get ready to make a shift, it's really satisfying. It really feels robust. And there's no movement, no wobble, no flex. Just instantly adds a step to the immersion. And that's what's important about me. That's why I enjoy having the proper shifters, the right type of wheels, because I want to mimic the real life feeling of driving a car as best I can in the virtual form. Now, I haven't mucked about with the tension. It's as it was in its standard setting. I'll tell you what, it does need a good hefty push or pull, and it gives you a really positive feeling shift. Just feels robust, it feels mechanical, it feels really immersive, and I couldn't be happier. Sound wise, well, there's no rattle, there's no big loud clonks or bangs from it. They've really hit that sweet spot between mechanical feel and sound. So it feels good for those who use it, and it's nice and easy on the ears for those around you. You know, for this kind of price point, in and around sort of the £100 odd mark, I don't think there's much better out there, you know. I know Mo's have recently released one, a sequential shifter, but apart from having that little trigger on the front here that initially I was quite interested in, but found that you can't always select a option to go straight into neutral, which is what I wanted the trigger for, so it may be a feature that wouldn't really see any use. But I found a lot of reviews were saying about how noisy they found the Moser shifter, which is why I didn't go for it. But I've got to say, even though it's all metal and it has a far more mechanical feel to it, it's no noisier than my SimJack shifter was when it was in sequential mode. And you know what? I think it's a little bit quieter than the Fanatic shifter I had when that was in sequential mode. That had quite a boomy clunk to it, a knock. This doesn't seem to have that. Ooh. Not sure how they've done it, but I'm certainly impressed. I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. And I'm really impressed on the sound levels that they've managed to bring that in at. If you're looking for a sequential shifter for your sim racing, this should be on your radar. It should be on your list and should be considered a worthy purchase. So far so good. I'm really impressed with it. I'm glad I found it. I'm glad I bought it. And it's just gonna make my tin top sim racing even more immersive. If you've got any questions about the SimJack Sequential Shifter, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. And if you don't mind, I've got some laps of Alton Park to do. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.